what would you say to the person then, Bill, who says, well, that's kind of, you're dehistoricizing scripture. And in fact,
Hmm.
it seems like you're rejecting the possibility of the miraculous. Couldn't God have created man from dirt and Eve from a rib? I mean, why does, if you believe he rose from the dead, you believe he created the universe, what's
Right.
so fantastic then about the other stuff that we're talking about here?
Well, there are two parts to your question. The second part concerned the possibility of miracles. And in exploring the first 11 chapters of Genesis, I take a strong stand for supernaturalism and the possibility of miracles. And precisely for that reason, I am unwilling to dismiss the story in Genesis 11 about the sons of God mating with human women and siring children. It seems to me that this sort of activity on the part of supernatural beings is perfectly possible. But when it comes to many, many of the other features of the narratives, it's not a matter of miracles, but it's a matter of elements which even the Genesis author, I think, would have found fantastic. For example, fruit that, when eaten, would magically confer immortality or the knowledge of good and evil against God's will. It's not as though God would do a miracle to bring this about on the occasion of eating the fruit, because he didn't want Adam and Eve to gain immortality once they had fallen. And he didn't want them to gain the knowledge of good and evil. He had prohibited it. So these kinds of things can't be regarded as miracles. And yet they do seem to be more in the category of magic. And therefore, I think more persuasively taken to be figurative. Now, what you need to understand as well, Mike, is that this is not an isolated example. I go through the whole first 11 chapters of Genesis, and you find these sorts of elements coming out again and again and again. And I look at about 9 family resemblances of myth, and almost all of these characterize in multiple ways Genesis 1 to 11. So, just as Richard Burridge was able to classify the Gospels as akin to ancient biography on the basis of certain family resemblances between the Gospels and ancient biography, so I think a very plausible case can be made on the basis of these family resemblances that Genesis 1 to 11 have mythic elements in it. And this will not be applicable to other portions of Scripture. You might as well argue that because the Psalms are classed as poetry, that would give you license to classify all of Scripture as poetry,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
because the book of Revelation is apocalyptic literature, that would give you license to classify all of Scripture as apocalyptic literature. The charge of dehistoricization is only legitimate and serious when you're dealing with a historical genre. If you are dealing with a historical genre, then to be skeptical of the historical literality of the account would be problematic.